Kemp. The pinnacle was probably a mammoth California trip with Simon Kellner and the actor Jimmy Nesbitt. It started at Pebble Beach and ended up at the Four Seasons in Los Angeles. I was getting rather too used to this lifestyle. I was slightly worried what my wife was going to say when I got home and rang down for room service and a monogrammed toweling robe. I sat in the lobby bar, preparing the first draft of the new movie screenplay that would make my name in the City of Angels. I nodded in an overly familiar fashion to Vince Neil, the ex-lead singer of Motley Crue, who was looking reassuringly dazed and confused. Mickey Rourke wandered in. He had the look of a man who'd done some serious playing with matches. Suddenly, there was a shout of recognition from another corner of the lobby. It was TV's hardest man, Ross Kemp. He'd been married to Rebecca Brooks and was now another recent evictee from the Chipping Norton set. He came over and gave me a very show-busy kiss on both cheeks. Ross, the hardest man on telly, was in town filming some extremely hardcore scenes with the Mexican mafia in the Badlands of LA. We invited him out for a restorative game of golf the next day. He looked like he could use it. It was shaping up to look like a star-studded match. Jimmy Nesbitt took a phone call from Max Beasley, who was thinking of playing golf with Robbie Williams. Should we meet up? Donald Trump's course? This was pure LA. The following morning, we all assembled in the car park out front to meet our LA golf host, Richard Schiff, Toby from the West Wing. Beasley and Robbie hadn't made it, but the rest of us were raring to go. Richard announced that we were off to a place called the Los Canyons, and that we were to follow him. I made the terrible error of getting a lift with him. Big mistake. It turned out that before Richard became an award-winning actor, he'd been a New York cabbie. Now, I've driven in some of the world's hairiest places, Beirut, Naples, Swindon, but nothing, and I mean nothing, could prepare me for this man's driving. As we screeched in and out of other terrified cars on the 6-lane freeway leaving the city at over 150 miles an hour, I began to wonder whether we might be featuring in some sort of weird movie ourselves. Surely this man couldn't drive this way in normal life. But he did. Unbelievably, and with what seemed like a hint of disappointment in Richard's eyes, we made it to the Los Canyons for our round of golf. There was a look of post-orgasmic pleasure on his face as he kicked his feet through the thick pile of litter that was 1/2 metre high in the footwell. I hitched a lift back to LA with someone else. That evening, we were guests at the hotel, and they'd really pushed the boat out. We were outside on a long table on the terrace, where some famous chef had been brought in to cook for us. I arrived late and sat opposite Ross Kemp, the toughest bloke on the box, who was looking very distracted. I tried to make polite conversation, but Ross, a TV hard man, was not with us. He just sat, with a 1,000-yard stare. It was all very awkward. Eventually, I had to deal with it head on. "Ross, are you okay? You seem troubled." Ross looked up at me with big, sad, worried eyes. "It's just..." He stopped for a second with the look of a man who'd seen terrible, terrible things, and once been married to Rebecca Brooks. "It's just that we're sitting here having an amazing time, enjoying ourselves and all carefree, and yet just 3 miles away, there is some seriously violent shit going down." Ross stopped again and looked very upset. I was about to say something when Jimmy Nesbitt, who was sitting 2 seats up from Ross, closed the whole thing down. "Well, stick to fucking panto then!" he shouted. There was total silence around the table. I downed a glass of wine and excused myself. Hole in one.